Hey, what's up everybody? This is my review of Transformers Prime Wheeljack. And you may be thinking to yourself, Wheeljack, what? This figure has been out for a long time. What's the deal here? Like it's 1985? Well, I'll tell you what the deal is. This is a knockoff, oversized version of the Hasbro Deluxe Wheeljack. And it's almost an identical copy. The transformation is the same. The posability is the same. There are a few differences which I will point out, but essentially this is a larger version of the Deluxe Wheeljack from Hasbro. How large? Well, I so happen to have the Deluxe version right there. And you can see, wow, quite a size difference, as you can see. Very cool. And why did I get this figure? Because I love this actual Transformer mold. I've gotten several versions of the Wheeljack mold, and I do like the transformation, I do like the design, and so therefore, why not get the oversized knockoff KO version? Fantastic. I do like it a lot. It does have some issues, which I will go over, but there you go. So let's start off with the differences between the KO and the Hasbro release. Well, one thing you'll notice in terms of paint is here on the headlights. You can see the KO version actually paints these in with the red, whereas on the Hasbro version there is no paint. The window is slightly different. I would say this is more of a blue here on the KO, and this is more of a smoky gray or smoky blue. And in terms of paint, well, you can see they both are gray colored. This is more glossy, and this is actually a white piece of plastic that's been painted with gray, as opposed to this, which is actually a solid gray piece. So there is that difference. But the duplication from this figure to this figure in terms of the individual panel lines is amazing. I mean, you look at the side, you can see, for example, the line here and here is identical up here. The actual panel line here is present on the oversized version. So it's just fantastic duplication, and obviously oversized version of the original Hasbro release. So it's really nice. In terms of the plastic actually is good. That's one thing people ask about KOs is, how is the plastic? The plastic actually is really good. The joints actually are a little bit too tight, as opposed to being a little too loose, or a lot too loose, as you find on a lot of the lower quality knockoffs. That is not the case with this guy. There are some issues. You can see there's a gap here, and that's the way I actually got it. And I've transformed this from vehicle into robot and back to vehicle, and so it doesn't seem to want to sit flush against this along this line here, whereas here it's a better fit. It could be just me in the way I transformed it, but it's something to be aware of if you're thinking of buying this. You may run into these issues where the panels don't quite line up like they do on the original. Again, like I say, could be just me in the way I transformed it, but there you go. You can see even the wheels. The wheels are exactly the same in terms of the sculpt. So fantastic. There is another key difference. As you can see, obviously, as we know, the swords can store here on the Hasbro Deluxe version. Not the case on this guy. It does have the pegs here, so naturally you'd think the sword hilts could peg into there. However, if you take a look at the way that the hilts here are sculpted on the KO swords, there is no tab to allow that to basically go on that slot, as you would have on, or you do have on the original Hasbro version. You see you have that slot and peg. Well, you can't store the weapons in vehicle mode. Not a big deal to me. I haven't found a way to do it, so I don't think there is a way. It may be a deal breaker for some people, and I would like people to be aware of that if it is, but for me, not a big deal. The other issue, or potential issue, is, as you know, on the deluxe version, you can take these swords off, and let me go ahead and do that, and you can actually peg them into these little tabs here on the front of the vehicle mode and have that type of effect. Well, as you look here, You have the tabs there to do that. On this KO, there are no tabs there, so you cannot do the walrus or woolly mammoth tusk of death type of attack thing. You know, not a big deal. I think most people thought that was rather silly, but if that's important to you, you cannot do it with this oversized KO. And the vehicle itself does roll well, as you can see. So fantastic. Just a size comparison of the swords here for those who might be interested. You can see except for the slot there, it's basically a oversized duplication of the original Hasbro Wheeljack sword. The symbols, it has symbols on there. I wouldn't say they're exactly the same, but you can see they do have symbols towards the base of the sword. But yeah, you don't have that little tab here that allows you to store it in vehicle mode. So again, if that's an issue, just want you to be aware of it. For me, it's not. So there you go. Okay, so what we are looking at here in this shot is a close-up of the rear side of the knockoff oversized Wheeljack figure in vehicle mode. And as you would expect, you would be able to mount the sword onto the side and peg it into the hole. Only problem is the peg is way bigger than the peg hole. So there is that, I guess, oversight or quality control issue, if you will, with this knockoff oversized Wheeljack. And of course, as you recall, with the original deluxe Hasbro version, of course, you can mount the swords onto the side using this peg hole in the vehicle mode or also in the robot mode. But not so with this oversized KO Wheeljack, because the peg, again, does not fit the hole. With that said, let's go ahead and take a look at some more size comparisons. What I'll be showing you is some size comparisons with some other vehicle-based Transformers in their vehicle modes. So let's go ahead and take a look at that. Now, I believe the size comparison that most people will want to see is the comparison between oversized Wheeljack here and the Binaltech alternators line. As you recall, that line is in the 1:24 scale. So let me go ahead and bring in alternators Shockwave and do a top-down comparison. And as you can see there, the Wheeljack figure is both longer and wider, and I would say he is definitely out of scale or not in scale with the 1:24 scale vehicle modes. It's a view from the rear there. And from the front. And as you can see here, I also do have the Binaltech yellow version of tracks. And you can see in this case as well, Wheeljack is both longer and wider. And we'll just give you another view from the side here. And from the front. And finally, from the rear. Next up, a comparison with Transformers Prime Beast Hunters Voyager Class Optimus Prime. Let me bring in Voyager movie Ironhide. So you can see this oversized Wheeljack figure is quite large. And here, my friends, is oversized knockoff Transformers Prime Wheeljack in robot mode. Fantastic figure. From the bottom of the feet to the top of the head, measures 8 inches tall. So really nice size. It's roughly between a Voyager and a Leader class size. And I'll get more into the size comparisons in just a minute here. But first, let me go ahead and show you the Hasbro released Wheeljack next to the knockoff oversized Wheeljack. And obviously there is quite a difference there, which is very cool in my mind. There are some differences in terms of paint. As I mentioned before, in the vehicle mode comparison, there is this section here on the what now is the leg. You got some paint here, whereas there's no paint there. You have no paint here on the crotch area. Here you have gold. And there's a difference in terms of the color of the plastic here on these two bits, at least on this side. This is white, whereas this is gray. You can do a little side comparison there. And finally, the back. And overall, the plastic is good. I had no problems with that. The transformation is identical to the original figure, and the articulation is the same as well. So you're not losing anything in terms of transformation, in terms of articulation, and in fact you gain some in the fact that you get different paint apps, and of course you gain in the fact that this is a very massively oversized Wheeljack. Fantastic. So with that said, let's go ahead and take a look at a series of size comparisons comparing oversized Wheeljack with some other Transformers in my collection. Okay, so for the very first size comparison, I brought out two deluxe figures and two Voyager class figures. You can see the two Voyager class figures in the back and the two deluxe figures in the front, and Wheeljack does tower over them all. Now this is a very interesting size comparison. On the right is Human Alliance Bumblebee. On the left here is the Transformers Bindletech Hot Rod. And you can see definitely Wheeljack is taller than both of them. So very good size comparison there. And for the final size comparison, I brought in two leader class sized figures. On the left is Revenge of the Fallen Optimus Prime. On the right, Transformers Animated Megatron. Okay, so final thoughts on Transformers Prime knockoff oversized Wheeljack. This figure is pretty freaking awesome. I like it a lot. And the reason I like it so much is because of the size, because of the fact that I like the Wheeljack mold from the Transformers Prime line, and so to have it in a bigger figure, a basically supersized figure like this, is very, very fantastic. So if you like the Transformers Prime Wheeljack mold, if you like the way it transforms, if you like the character, this figure I don't think will disappoint you. There really is not a whole lot of negatives. One negative I can think of is because the figure is so tall, he doesn't really fit into scale with other Transformers Prime Hasbro release figures. But if you like the Wheeljack mold well enough, it's not really going to bother you, and it doesn't really bother me, so I think it's fantastic. Now, how much did I pay for this? I paid $18 US from a seller on the site Chamungmung, and I'll put the link down below, Chamungmung. This particular person has a lot of knockoff oversized figures, and I paid $18. I'm not sure exactly what I paid for shipping because I had this shipped along with a oversized KO leader class Optimus Prime, and the shipping came out to be $38, a little bit steep. So I figure if you were just to buy this alone without any other figures, probably maybe $25, possibly $30. A little bit on the steep side, but you know, if you really like this idea of a oversized KO Wheeljack, it's worth it. It's very, very much worth it. I do love this figure a lot. Now, a lot of people ask, of course, or think about, well, what's the quality of the plastic like? And I gotta tell you, I have no problems at all with the plastic. And thank you so much for watching. This has been a review of the knockoff oversized Transformers Prime Wheeljack figure. It's very, very cool. Thanks for watching.